Ancient sands, heed my command.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
And reclaim these relics of
I think I'm kinda gay. Kinda gay.
The same thing that happens to everything else.
If the apocalypse comes, beat me. Beat me. Beat me. Beat me.
Welcome to Real Hot Nerd Shit, a pop culture podcast where real hot nerds talk about real nerd shit. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your co-host, Shauna. And on this episode of Real Hot Nerd Shit, we're going to start our next chapter grouping of episodes. It is called What's Your Fantasy? And what better way of starting off with a topic on fantasy than Dungeons and Dragons? And on the subject of Dungeons and Dragons, we have two guests for today. A special. We have actually 4 people today with us, and so I'd like to welcome Jamilah and my partner and wonderful, amazing mother to my child, and just and Kelli.
Welcome, both of you.
I had to.
It's not that Jamilah is not special.
No,
it's
listen,
just
it's
that-
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I
It's
just
fine.
like I'm like, well, if I'm
It's
giving the Kelli intro,
no, you got it. No, talk her up. Talk her up, please.
Yeah, I really did. I felt it as soon as it was happening. I was like, this is gonna sound like it's Jamilah, and then the literal creator of joy and the sun in my sky. Like okay,
my moon, my stars, yes.
Yes.
My dungeon master. Yeah.
Yes. And in case that got covered up by giggling, Kelli is the DM for the group of Dungeons and Dragons players, many of whom have been on this cast before. So we will get started with getting to know our guests a little bit better. So for Real Hot Nerd Shit, we kind of take this idea that a nerd is someone who is weirdly knowledgeable and really passionate about something. And sometimes people think that thing is uncool, but who cares, because, it's something that you love. So what are you a nerd about? First, Jamilah, and then Kelli?
Okay. I'm a real big nerd about a good portion of Bravo shows. Like, that is what I'm a giant nerd about. Like, I remember watching the lead into Vanderpump Rules when it was like the just like an episode of Beverly Hills, and they just walked them through Sir, and they were just like, oh, okay, yeah, new show, cool. I like, it is my passion. Like, I'm in 18 million Facebook groups about my illness that I have about Bravo. So yeah.
Okay, wait, I have a question.
Love that.
Yeah. What happened? Why was Vanderpump Rules trending? Something about the original cast?
Listen, you're not ready.
Are you okay?
This is extreme. You're not ready for this.
So
I'm
just very glad you asked.
Yeah.
I love that.
To be honest, I am very 2 years ago, there was a scandal. A known cheater cheated, but with a friend instead of just some random person that he usually cheated with. And then things started to happen. So the last season, the season before this last one, it was very much rah rah girl power. We all hate these guys. These guys suck. They're horrible. And then this new season came in, and somewhere in the middle of it, I guess the producers got into the ear of a couple of castmates and said, like, hey, if you don't forgive or try to get people to forgive the people that everyone hates, this man, Tom Sandoval, not Sandoval, Tom Sandoval.
Heard it.
If you don't get them to like start liking him, you're not gonna have a show. And so then the two most annoying characters on the show, Sheena, I will say their names, Sheena and Lala.
Okay, I'm so invested.
Decided to basically at every turn make the woman who was cheated on, Ariana, seem like it was she was being unreasonable, when in all actuality she had just been cheated on earlier that year. Like, they started filming like 3 months later. Like she literally had just gotten cheated on, and they were like, "Why aren't you over it, girl?
Work
He
it
cheated."
Start
out.
writing with the gaslight gatekeep girl
Yeah,
boss. Like we can
he
put
Yes.
cheated
out
on you.
like
Very that. And like on like, across the entire country, I don't watch any of these programs, and I knew about that. I don't
As you
even
should.
like Bravo doesn't even exist in my sphere,
Wow.
and it penetrated that. That's how deep the culture of Bravo is.
So then it became a whole thing. It became a whole thing on the reunion, and
Mm.
basically just people started doubling. Lala doubled down and basically said, "I don't like you. You're Beyonce. You think that you're Beyonce. You think that you're above us. Yada yada yada. All this and all that." And then proceeded to basically the entire run of the actuals, because that was before the season aired. So the entire run of the season, she's telling everybody on all of her social media and her podcast, like, "Hey guys, I was being really real. I just had to say something. Like it,
Ugh.
like I love her, but like I just had to say something. You guys, you're gonna understand it because people again were flaming her the entire season. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we
Yeah.
think you're being a jerk, and she was like,
Yeah.
I'm not. You don't understand. You'll see. And then when it came out that like, no, you were being a jerk, she was like, well, I don't like them anyway. I don't want to be friends. I don't want to be friends. And has
And that's
proceeded to
why
say, I don't want to be friends until basically they got canceled because she sucks. So, but actually,
damn.
to be honest, it
damn.
needed to be canceled. They're
Okay.
they're 40-year-olds.
Sure.
There's sort of a like when it started, they were late 20s. Some of them were early 30s, but they were mostly late 20s, hot single people
Sure.
in LA who were like,
Let's be on TV.
I yeah, or like they were just like, I'm gonna be an actor, I'm gonna be a model, I'm
Mhm.
gonna be this. And then the issue is that like now we're seeing like you're still drinking that all the time, you're still
Yeah.
crazy, but now you have babies, you have
Right.
businesses, you're
It's sad and weird.
you're fucking 40. Like this, there's
Yeah.
something about being fucking 40 that kind of makes that seem like, ugh, it's ugly.
Yeah.
It's not as
Yeah.
fun. Like I guess technically, like it's kind of fun when it comes to like, when it comes to like let's think like what is it called?
Schadenfreude kind of way.
Oh, I would
Like,
know. I was thinking of Southern Charm, because Southern Charm
oh.
has old men on. Let's not talk. That's a whole other can
It's
of
okay,
worms.
yeah.
But
Rabbit hole. I'm like,
but
so I'm following every I'm like, so
Yeah.
Southern Charm. Uh-huh.
but
Well, and I
there's
think that
some.
that's where,
Mhm.
like, why I love that you're so knowledgeable about, the Bravoverse, the Bravoverse cinematic universe here,
Yes,
Oh
the
yeah.
because,
Bravo cinematic
being
universe.
yeah, there we go. Because being a nerd is so often like, well, I like D&D and comic books, and I do, but there's so many wonderful things to be
Yes.
nerdy about, and
Yes.
so that's where I wanted to really like.
I
I
like
love
that.
hearing
Yeah.
this.
No,
Yes.
Southern Charm.
it's also insane because it's just all about people, like
Mhm.
all about rich people, mostly rich white people being their
Consuming
absolute
themselves.
yeah,
Yes.
the absolute worst version of themselves. And that's the
Yes.
reason I like it, because I'm just
Yes.
like, I'm never like with Southern Charm, I'm like, I'm never gonna be a rich, like
Oil
Southern,
tycoon.
yeah, belle whose father created a bridge, and whose father was also like the the governor of the state. And then
Oy.
you're over here at the big age of 45 trying to scam on this 18-year-old, and you got her pregnant, and the thing is, like, you she understand, like, she is playing the game because it's the game of like, you are a hot southern young woman,
Yeah.
and you
She's
want to
smart.
get with the big moneyed old man. And so it's like
Yeah.
they're playing each other, but it's also it's a dip into a world I don't want to be in, but also
Yes.
I do, because I'm like, I just want to be there for 5 seconds. Like, I don't even want to for real interact. Like, I just want to,
Spectate.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to be on
Right.
it.
It's why
I
I
I
like
love it.
Succession.
genuinely That's what I was gonna say, because
Mhm.
Jamilah, you hit the nail on the head. I don't really like drama. I
Yeah.
don't really well, let me make sure I specify. I don't like drama as a genre as much as I do like
Mm,
comedy, action, etc. I also don't like reality television
that's fair.
because that fabricated drama, the other type of drama,
Hmm.
is just like I see the appeal, but I watch it and I'm like, I hate you. I hate everything. Stop talking. I hate you. Because I don't know what it is, but the I love watching wealthy white people cannibalize themselves.
Oh, it's the best.
It's a lesson in sociology. It's literally, this is what dominance does. Like, there always has to be an alpha. So in well, I should have put big air quotes around that. Like, that's how power works. And so Succession is literally, a bunch of wealthy white kids ready to eat their father, like, for the sake of fame in
Yeah.
some capacity. So anyways, I totally understand. Not my bag. I think you watched me, Shauna, and Kelly all sort of like disassociate for 14 seconds because I was like, I get it. I get the love. It comes through loud and clear, and we need someone with your voice, honestly.
No,
So brave
listen,
of you to speak out.
listen, thank you. It's an addiction, and I'm trying to kick it, but also,
Yes.
it's a big monkey on my back, and I'm sorry about that.
What are there any other things that you're a nerd about?
I let's see, I'm I'm nerdy about one. No, let me be specific. There's a single show that have been obsessed with. I got a DVD of it as like a tween. It's
Mhm.
called it's called Prophet.
Hmm.
It was on Fox. It starred Adrian Pasdar, the guy with the deep voice and the big square head from he was
Adrian
married.
Pastar?
Yeah, he was married to one of the chicks, one of the Dixie Chicks. It's in that
Oh.
in the more recent Dixie Chick CD that they album that they released during COVID. A lot of the
Gaslighter or
song,
whatever.
yes, Gaslighter is about him because he
Oh.
was cheating on his one of the chicks with random women. It becomes a whole thing. But as a child, as a young man, he there was a one season Fox show
Uh-huh.
called Prophet where he was the star, and it's about a man who is trying to take down a corporation from the inside. Um, it's and it has like 90s early 2000s like tech in it, and so it's like
Mhm.
he in one scene in the episode he's like on the computer, and the computer has it so it's like you are walking through the halls, like it's like a directory. But the idea of the directory is that you are walking through the halls in this building, and then you like the little like name tag person is not. It's not like it's just like a oh picture. It's like a little humanoid person comes up and it has the face of like your like name tag on it. And then like let's say he got rid of a person from the building, it'll just shatter that person. Like that
Oh.
person will just be shattered and be like, I did business, and so then he'll like say something like witty with his deep voice. Um,
I'm again fascinated.
I
The
thought,
deepest cut. I'm like looking at this. First of all, it looks like so it originally aired in 96, and then
okay.
in February 2008 repeat episodes began airing on Chiller,
Hmm.
and in October of 2010 on CBS Action in Europe. So
Yeah,
um
it is. It is.
limited viewing opportunities.
Yes, it is one season. It is one season of some of the most like this is 90s bit with what people believe 90s business is about. Like it's like,
Mm,
hey, are you a
yes.
businessman? This is what
Yes, I
business
do.
is.
Yeah,
Like this
we
is how you
business
do
here.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
And what draws me in is that in the first episode, uh spoiler for something that came out in the 90s, my apologies.
Spoiler alert. It's literally 30 years old.
um a woman walks up to him, like he's like in his office, and a woman walks up to him and kisses him, and then he pulls back and he's like, "Hi, Mom." And then that's where they cut it. That's where they cut
What?
to commercial, and you're like,
Wilding.
"What is going on?"
Okay, well, I think pretty much everyone here is sold on profit. Thank you so much. Sharks, we're in. Uh, Sean and I are absolutely going to do an episode, like a chapter of episodes about shows that only got one season but deserved more. And perhaps we'll have to have you come back on.
Please, I was just watching. I was just watching it the other day because I had to re. This is how ill my sickness is. I had to rebuy the DVD because I couldn't find it in my home. So I
Oh,
don't know.
well.
There's a DVD, a loose DVD of it somewhere in this house, but I also have a new one. So now I have two.
Okay. So, Kelly, what are you nerdy about? And I regret to tell you that no one will ever be as charismatic about their nerdiness than Jamilah on Bravo. So, good luck. You
I'm
got
excited.
it.
That's okay. That's
No, I'm
okay.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know, I was like trying to think the whole time, like, what should I say I'm nerdy about? Because honestly, I feel like I've been nerdy about a lot of things throughout my
Yeah.
entire life. Like, my dad is a huge nerd, and I got it from him. So, all just a bunch of nerds. But so I think I got the most recent thing I've been very nerdy about
Hmm.
is I love games. I mean, obviously, I'm on the going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons, so obviously, I love games.
Right.
Most recently, I got very into this game called Blood on the Clock Tower,
Oh,
which
yes.
is a um, social deduction game. I think it was made in like the UK a few years back, and it is overly complicated. Like the
Sure.
amount of people are just like, this is confusing. I watch this and I don't understand what's happening because everyone has different characters. They all have like different powers that help you figure out who. It's like a good and evil kind of thing. You have a couple evil players, and then the rest of everyone's good, and they have to find the demon who's killing people at night. And
Woof.
everyone just has weird powers and abilities to solve that, and then one person has to like kind of run the game, which is but my favorite. Like I think running the game is more fun than playing it.
Oh, okay,
When
got
I've
it.
watched,
So
Oh,
any
okay.
opportunity to
yeah,
be the DM, you're
yeah,
you're in
I like being
whatever
in charge
capacity.
of
Yeah,
things.
love it.
I like sometimes I like to be in control in these very specific situations.
Yes,
Um, but you have to like have the person like run the game and like wake everyone at during the night phase where everyone's eyes are closed and tell them their information and keep track of everything. Um, and it's crazy. I've watched weird things happen, and I always am constantly info dumping on Shauna, like, oh my gosh, I just
sure.
watched this crazy game of people playing, and this is what happened, and she's like, cool. I don't know what you're talking about. You said like 5 things, and I don't know what they are.
And
Yeah,
But I
that's
feel very
the best
prepared
part
to
about
play
being a
it for the
nerd.
first time. Like, I'm
yeah.
ready
It's
because
gonna
I
be
feel like
less
I've lived
complicated when you
it.
play it the first time because do the
I'm
beginners.
sure.
Exactly. So we are clearly, I don't remember if we were already recording when Shauna came in and made the comment about the next 4 years. I have this gross feeling we haven't recorded since the election, which is wild. Um, so everything went bad as anticipated. Things did go
Yeah.
poorly, pretty like unilaterally. Not a lot of great outcomes. I don't know that we really need to like talk about how much that sucks because there's a couple of more regional or more like important items that we put on the list. One of which being like high five, Sarah McBride, our first trans legislator in Congress. And then we grab Sarah's hand with love and say, "We're we're fighting back, sis. We're not going to just not fight here." So, Shauna, do you want to talk about Sarah
Yeah.
because you had some heat for her the other night?
I do, and I have a heat for a lot of because recently she's been under attack because another representative, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, has put forth a bill banning her from using the women's restroom in the Capitol, and is then
Specifically her.
advancing. But yeah, because there's no other trans legislator. But there are a
Right.
bunch of other aides and other trans people who exist in that space. But as the
Right.
first
Yeah.
legislator, she's the one being targeted,
Right.
and also is then advancing it for all federal property, so museums and a lot of DC generally.
Oh my
And
God.
I was very frustrated because on Trans Day of Remembrance, she decided, I don't want to talk about this distraction. I'm here to help people. I'm just going to use the men's room. And I'm like, that is not what? And I just feel like one of the number one things that they say not to do when living in an authoritarian fascistic world is to
Mm-hmm.
not compel and obey when you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like and I understand the need to not want to make it a distraction, but ultimately, the distraction's happening, whether or not you
Exactly.
acknowledge it or not. You can say, I
Exactly.
want to help the people of Delaware, and also say, but as our only trans representative ever being like, i'm I don't want to think about bathrooms, as just literally today in our
Mm-hmm.
wonderful state of Ohio,
Oh
our
God.
Governor DeWine passed a kindergarten through college ban for anyone on campuses and schools, including employees, children, adults, everyone, to have to use the bathroom of where they were assigned at birth. And the fact of the matter is, these bathroom bills are not a distraction. They are literally a harm that is happening currently. And I want of my representatives to do better in terms of being able to speak up and speak out. And when, Sarah McBride, I think of that like, raising your hand in the ocean and just getting a high five. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that's what, Democrats have been doing for her. Like, we
Yes.
see you. Yeah, that does suck. And we need
Yeah.
more from that, because so much of the aforementioned election for me was seeing how trying to ignore the giant elephant in the room of the massive transphobic hate campaign that is going
Mm-hmm.
on, because and this is going to segue great into Wicked, because you need a good villain,
You do.
and they have found one in the trans community,
They really
but
have.
that is not a reason not to speak up and speak out. And so all I ask is that I think you need more I need more from Democrats. I need more
Yeah.
from liberals and from allies to speak up and speak out about these injustices, to not have to say, well, you know what? Why don't you just obey, and we can just do the important things.
Right.
We'll deal with, the price of bread later, but just
Right.
go ahead and just use the bathroom they tell you to. Don't do that,
Yeah.
please.
Take
One
take
more.
I'm so when we were ranting and raving on it, I also got, a little heated. And if I were Sarah McBride, I would have left the biggest shit on Nancy Mace's office with a note that said, I'm not going in the men's restroom, so I guess this is my new bathroom, bitch.
Right.
Because I
And
am fucking it up every day in here. You
Yeah.
choosing to,
wretched
and that's just
whore.
it, is like, she can say, well, I'm just going to not make a big deal of it, but it's
But
also
what if
then
you
her not
did?
speaking up for AIDS and all sort of people who are also happen to be in the Capitol. And I think that's where it is so important. All of us should use our voices. All of us should be using our spaces and taking up that room to fight and advocate for others. And I was disappointed on Trans Day of Remembrance that
Yeah.
she failed to do that. And I'm hopeful that she will, and the Democrats generally will do better, though. It is hard to have confidence at this point.
It really is, mostly because I feel like the worst thing to ever happen to the Dems was for Michelle Obama to say, like, when
Yeah.
when they go low, we go
Yeah.
high. And like I know
Yeah.
that now she has walked that and said, like, that was for me. Like, y'all, I don't know why y'all using that, but like
Hmm.
I feel like that was taken and they were like, it's a way for us to like just get out of everything
The
now.
black
Like
lady
we
gave us
Yeah.
permission.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
so cuz like I I want so much for the Dems to be I I I have been loudly vocal to multiple people around me. I'm like, we need to bring back when we could fight in
Yeah.
the like Congress. Like back
Yeah.
like the only thing I will ever give a racist The one thing
Yeah,
is
real tough sell, but go for it.
the only thing
There's
I
a
will only
lot of
give
them.
the only thing I will only give a racist slave owner is during that, like, the one of the last fights that happened before the Civil War was the guy who beat up the other guy on the floor of Congress because he talked about his cousin. He hit him.
Oh,
He
well,
One guy was like it was like senator from this state talking about probably a senator from Carolina. I don't know which one. It was
sure,
they're the same to me.
sure,
Uh
same. I don't
and
know the
so
difference.
he was like, you your countryman sucks, he's a horrible person, something something. And then the senator from one of the Carolinas was like, first off, don't ever talk about my cousin, I'm gonna
Yeah,
beat you. And
yeah,
so he
100%.
actively beat him. He beat him up. And I was like, that is the we got to bring that back. Like, I
We need
think
to.
that is what is missing. Like, I'm gonna need Democrats to just get the just to beat a Republican at their game.
Yes,
You have to meet the bully where they are sometimes. Like, you
yes,
have to
Yeah.
actually be like, so I understand that you think that you're gonna win because I'm gonna just be polite. Like, you want
right,
me to be polite to you. I'm not gonna be polite to you anymore. I'm
right.
actively going to destroy you every single time I see you.
Yes, I'm gonna
Every
take a
single
shit on
time.
your
And
desk.
Yes, every single time we meet, it's on site. Like, maybe I'm
Yeah,
not gonna beat you up because I will go to jail and I'll lose my job, but
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
will verbally accost you
Yeah.
every
Or with these
single
guys,
time. Yeah.
they know.
bullies want you to just be nice and comply and let
Yes,
them bully you and not speak up for yourself. That is literally that is just a tale as old as time. And I think that Democrats are very unequipped to answer this moment where these bullies need to be stood up to, and
100%.
the people being bullied need to be stood up for. And
Yep.
they're just in trying to ignore it and trying to pretend like it's not actually our fight,
Hmm.
and that is
Or
was
that it's not
widely
actually a
unsuccessful.
fight.
Hmm.
And
Right.
that's the thing that I think the two things that I want to say maybe before we switch to this perfect segue of Wicked, the one thing that I wanted to say was the part for me around Sarah McBride and her statement on TDOR specifically was that, like, I'm not here to do this, but, like, first of all, girl, yes, you are. You are literally here to fight. So I understand that the sentiment was that this is background noise, but, like, at the end of the day, you're standing up for yourself, you're standing up for the aides. You are also saying, I just got here. I am not going to be the last one here,
Hmm.
because that is the other tactic that they're using. They are making sure that trans people do not feel safe in any of those spaces so that none of us ever get the fucking spine to send a trans person to represent us ever
Hmm.
again. And if we keep showing that we're just going to, roll over about it, then they're, again, bullies. That's
Hmm.
what they fucking do. So, swing on your transphobic uncle on Thanksgiving. Um, Call out your, fucking Thanksgiving is tomorrow. We're recording this the day before. And so I'm wishing strong hands to those of you that are going to be brave enough to really get the people that need it
Yes,
together.
please.
Because we got to figure out something with, like, the election and this holiday, because they're too close. People
Mm.
need time and space to breathe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because again, I'm not going around the racists in my family, which is all. I'm not going around them. And also, it perhaps would have been easier if the election was in, like, June. Like, what if we went on a fiscal year
Ooh.
for elections? You know what I
Ooh,
I
mean?
that'd be
mean,
nice.
I
Yeah.
agree. My birthday is in November, and it was way
Yeah.
too close. It felt kind of a bit of a downer around my birthday. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to
100%.
celebrate, but everything's sad and bad.
And that's why we continue. And I feel like I said this a bunch on the last one. We just keep living our fucking weird ass life, doing the best thing we can. And yeah, it's stupid. But whatever, it's the best thing that we can do, because we would be hypocritical if we said we're not just going to keep fighting, because that's to be Black in this country, especially to be born in the body of a Black woman, to be trans in this country, all of the identities of the people represented on this call, we're all fucking under attack in some way, shape, or form. And we're still here, motherfucker. And good luck, because some of us are fighting. Some of us are going to take shits on your desk. I'm
Yes.
lining up number 1. I've got IBS. Let's
I
go.
think you're actually lining up number 2.
Hey.
Shauna! Removed from chat. So we also thankfully have all now seen Wicked. Let's be brief. So Kelly, you're the bigger fan between you and Shauna, correct?
Yep.
So
I've been
what
listening
were
to
your first
it since it
thoughts?
came out. I mean, I loved it. Like, I've seen a lot of movie musicals, and it's probably the most that, like, it to me felt like just seeing it on stage,
Yes.
but with bigger sets and more
Yes.
stuff happening.
Yes.
And I love that. I love feeling like this feels like a stage show. It feels like
Yes.
that's where I'm at right now.
I totally agree. And there was actually a moment, like right as it was getting started, when I took another bite of an edible that Shauna gave me, was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the Emerald City. Like, it was just, there's a unique experience, obviously, from like film or from book to film, but this is book to stage to film. So there's no, there's no, nobody is going in with a truly blank slate. Like, we have an idea of what these things look like based on the stage interpretation. And I think the only thing that really caught me off guard was the idea that like Shiz was by water, because they arrived on boats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was surprised by the by water, but I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Boats.
No, I never
Why
really
not?
thought about where Shiz would be, but okay, they came by boats. Jamilah,
Shiz
what
is
do you
going to
think?
be on Nancy Mace's desk.
She's on Nancy Mace's desk.
That's crazy. I'm realizing that I've had such, like, all of my true Wizard of Oz energy has been just mostly put in towards the Wiz.
The Wiz, yeah.
Yeah. And so for some reason in my mind I was like, there's gonna be some connection with them. I read
Sure.
I read the book. Like, I read the
Yeah.
book and I know the musical, but for some reason I was still like, oh my God, we're gonna see Eveline. We're gonna
Okay,
see
so that's yes. So I saw a great point. If there's anyone that doesn't know, The Wiz is the all-black cast version of The Wizard of Oz that came out starring Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and so a couple other big names that I'm forgetting. But Eveline is the Wicked Witch. So technically, Cynthia Erivo is not the first Black Elphaba, because Eveline is the Elphaba of the Wiz. And it is kind of one for one in terms of the characters.
Yeah.
But we do love that. I don't remember, maybe it was Shauna that I was talking to about this, but honestly, like, I always root for, a Black person to get a role. And it wasn't until we were sitting there watching it. I've seen the stage show probably like three times, maybe 2 or 3 times. I tried reading the book in high school, but ironically, I was not even remotely socially conscious. So I was like, ugh, what is this? Like, I just couldn't get into it. It's really, Jamilah has known me the longest out of everyone, and I was not this person all those years ago. But I never, until we were sitting there, I was like, it should always be a woman of color that plays Elphaba. Like, it just, it's not even like it sells the story.
Yeah,
like it does, because at the end of the day, when Cynthia Erivo washes off her makeup, she's still a Black woman, and the entire musical still makes sense. And there's something about that experience and like the message of, you know, the skin color aspect of Wicked. I just think there's something about that. And it's not that, like, obviously Adina Menzel, you know, there's several other very good ones that are all incredible, but just thinking like that is something that it's kind of like Nick Fury. Nick Fury was white until he was
Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson, and now Nick Fury shall be black from here on out. Like, I swear to God, if they ever put a white Nick Fury on the screen, I'm swinging.
No,
Don't do it.
It's gonna be the way that we feel about the Green Lantern. Like there is a white Green Lantern.
Yeah.
No one knows who that white man is. We only
except
know
Ryan Reynolds, obviously.
Well, no one
John
remembers
Stewart
that.
is.
No one remembers
Yeah.
that.
John Stewart.
We all remember that the black Green Lantern that we have now seen through multiple things. So whenever
Yes.
they try to push this white man, we're all like, who brought you? Where are I don't know
Wherefore
you.
out
Get
there,
out of
John
here.
Stewart. Yeah, and not the quippy white man, John Stewart.
Well, and
no, go ahead.
Well, no, I was
Please.
just gonna say, but I think that thinking about the intersections and the ways in which I saw myself in Alphaba and saw the plight of trans people in terms of that, like that intrinsic part of yourself that makes you different from everyone else, that everyone else is staring at and can't believe you're there, and are unable to take that look of shock that you dare even be a part of it.
Yes.
And those ways in which that those intersections between the experiences you've just described and mine and how similar they are, and how I think that's something that adds that layer of depth, that it does speak to those experiences, because so often that we are like there's such a attempt to divide instead of seeing commonality in those kinds of avenues of oppression, and how they're not the same, but they're not altogether different either.
It's all the same. I'm sorry.
No, please.
I was just gonna say it's all the same. It's all rooted in, you know, white supremacy, and like it's all rooted in imperialism, and like they're all like intimately tied together. And then it's all the isms and shit are just the leaves that spring from that root. And so, yeah, it does feel really similar when we talk about bathrooms, for example. Like perhaps it's a little on the nose to be like, hey, older black folks that are perhaps having a hard time with the understanding the plight of trans people. Doesn't it feel kind of fucked up to tell people what bathroom they can go to? And there is you have to be very intentional with that approach, because from the wrong mouth, it's interpreted differently. And that's like also, you know, the power of in community conversation, where like, hey, call out your uncle because he's your fucking uncle. Don't make it be the trans girl that he's bullying outside. Like, you do it. You do the work as, you know, the cis person or whatever. Which also was kind of why, and Nessa Rose does end up becoming a villain in a lot of ways, but seeing Nessa in Wicked and kind of being like, this bitch, and she uses a wheelchair. It's like that's real inclusion. The fact that I can look at someone in a wheelchair and say this bitch with the same ire as someone who is not disabled, I feel like that really, you know, that says something about.
And as I was watching it, as she like watches her sister get treated like shit time and time again by her father, by everyone around her staring at her, and she's just there like, that does suck.
Yeah, that does suck. And like
Sucks to be you. But
wrong musical. That's an Avenue Q joke. But yeah, so I mean, we could go on about Wicked forever. It was a touch too long. Jamilah made a great point at like before we were recording that like, if you're gonna split it into two movies, why the fuck are they each gonna be 2.5 hours long? Trim some fat.
And here's the thing, I like what they added. Like, I do like that it feels like a lived in world. I like that it feels like I could.
Their stakes are real.
Yeah,
these animals are
real people, and
in danger.
the animals are. And I've now read so much about like I've been all over. I've been on the Reddits. I've been in the Twitters.
Yeah.
I've been on the blue sky. I've been
The
feeding all
butterfly.
over.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been zeeting all over.
And I just I I like the and how they have now expanded the the talking animal plot, I guess,
Yeah.
for it. Um, I It'll be interesting because lots of people on TikTok are talking about like what they're gonna see in Act 2, and so I'm like, all right, well, I'm excited to see how this goes because like to be honest, if this it was 2 hours and we just all we got was like the first 3 months of her in like college, high school,
Yeah.
so this is gonna we're gonna be really
We're
going
definitely going
through
to
a
have a
lot.
civil rights movement in Act 2.
Yeah, like
No,
that's
unfortunately, the end of Act 2, and this is it cannot possibly be. I mean, I guess it's a spoiler, but like it happens in The Wizard of Oz. Like Wicked ends where The Wizard of Oz begins. So like Wicked ends. Well, I guess Wicked ends tangentially with Wizard of Oz. So like we don't fucking know. We never get to know about the plight of the animals. Although we definitely didn't need to see their intimate living room scene. Well, that sounds funny to think about in a
here.
dirty way.
I
The intimate animal scene.
I
Lesser
loved
known
it.
parts of Wicked.
I loved it. I love that. To be honest, I was thinking I like tweeted the other day. I was like, I'm just gonna end up doing like a hear me out cake, and it's just gonna be all the hot talking animals
Yeah.
because that doctor, that
That
wolf
snow
doctor,
leopard. Mm,
that's Snow Leopard, hot,
yeah. Hot.
hot.
Hot. Okay, and then last little tangent before we jump into the content. We are awaiting the new Captain America: Brave New World, starring Anthony Mackie as
Oh,
what's his toes? What's his name? What's the character's name?
Captain America.
Sam Wilson. Shut up, Shauna. Sam Wilson, who now has the mantle of Captain America, and those of us that are too attached to nerd content online. There's a couple of stories floating around about how they're going to go back and do a second round of reshoots because
That
it
movie's
did
coming
not
out soon, isn't
like
it? Isn't it like
next month. I'm pretty
very?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say I'm like it's
yeah,
pretty late in
and
the game to be doing reshoots part three.
reshoots.
yes, and yeah, this is the second set because they already reshot some stuff, or maybe re-edited. They retooled it. We don't really,
Oh
I guess,
no.
know all the details, but
Oh, I'm so scared.
exactly because it was after focus groups. They randomly pick employees to participate in focus groups, and I'm like, okay, we don't even need to go down that rabbit
Mm,
hole of how like, oh, okay, so you randomly select employees at
mm,
Disney and we should believe that there's a fair
mm,
distribution of the general population. Okay, got
mm.
it.
I'm gonna move to Middle Kansas just so that I can be a
Right,
part of
and
these
just get
focus
a
groups and be like,
real
actually,
yeah. Let's find out what that middle America. No, but Shauna made a great point, which is it's doomed. It's going to be bad no matter what, even if it is the greatest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they have yielded. Because I refuse to believe that anything, I guess I haven't read any of the specific critiques. All of
Mm.
these are like leaks from leak sources and blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that the first film starring Black Captain America in 2024 after we just elected a goddamn racist fascist. Like, yeah, no, we should already be prepared for people to be dissatisfied.
Yeah, it's
Like,
gonna be bad.
he can't be all things to all people. He can't be every issue of every comic. And it's just unfucking fair because when we just like trust the process. We get things like Agatha All Along, which was clearly made for and by fans and with intention and love and care and detail to both the source material and who the target demo is, because they also are going to have a lot of explaining to do to Black folks if they don't really do this right. And by right, I mean like with, again, intention. Like,
Yeah.
he should be respectable. He should not be the fucking, second Captain America. But we got a good introduction to him at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I was wondering
just
about that.
It just feels like it's doomed. It just feels like this is going to be another She-Hulk, the Marvels, where all of the attention is to all of the negative critiques instead of how good it actually was.
I actually just watched the Marvels, by the way, and it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Or it's fun, not cute. Cute feels reductive.
No, but it's cute. No, but it is a cute movie.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding? Watching Miss Marvel geek out over her hero is very cute.
It is cute.
But that's just it. But I think it's the same thing. I see exactly why people hated it, and there's nothing they could have done because at the end of the day, it still starred 3 women.
Yep.
And they did not, 2 of whom are people of color, and they don't want that. It is not what a certain subsect of nerd fans are looking for, and they've always been this vocal, and they've always been very willing to be aggressive. Like you see it in Star Wars.
Oh, don't get me started on the Acolyte, man. Oh my god.
Exactly.
Oh my god, yes. Specifically, I actually do not want to open the can of worms of the Acolyte, because there's so many things there. But even just down to John Boyega in the first trailer for the
Don't even get me started on John Boyega.
Like,
oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay, so we won't. We're gonna stop it there. Yeah, but the point of the matter is, like, when are the creatives going to learn? Not the creatives. When are the executives going to learn that as long as you empower the creatives and trust the creatives and try not to just fucking pander, you'll do just fine? Because, like, it seems like Jack Schaefer had a lot of control over Agatha all along. And if she is as much of a gay witch as that show suggests, then she was the perfect person to hand it to. But in general, she already clearly was, because it just was so good. So good. So before we get into go ahead, Kelly, were you saying something?
Oh, this is one thing. You saying that just made me think of a thing. So this is really good quote from Miyazaki, where he's asked when you're writing something, when do you write for yourself and when do you write for the fans? And he basically is I don't care what the fans think. I'm making the thing I want to make, and they will have it. And I just think it's that he gets trusted to make whatever he wants. And I mean, I think that's something that stuff like Marvel could learn from. Sometimes just make the thing. Stop being so focused on what fans are going to be mad about this.
Right.
Just let them make it.
And when it comes to things like movie adaptations or adaptations in general, you should probably keep some, things in mind to make sure you don't go completely off track, which is actually a great segue into the conversation. You do need the fan insight, but the people who work for that project should be people who are inclined to like that material. Not exclusively, but you just have to imagine that, if you gave a person, I'll just use me, if you gave me a chance to work on an X-Men project, I promise you, I'll work my fingers to the blood, whatever it means, because the idea that I'm getting paid, which I guess is actually kind of fucked up, because that's how they take advantage of video game developers. So there is a little fucking comma in all of this, do jobs you love, but also pay them and treat them with dignity and kindness and all those other things. So anyways, okay, we're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, the film Honor Among Thieves, but also as a whole, because both Shauna and Kelly are players. Jamilah is a spectator, as I understand.
I actually, well, as of right now, I am. My group that I've been playing with, we're on hiatus. The DM and one of the players they're together. I'm in a group of couples, and I'm a single person.
Yeah.
And so one of them, one of the group of couples just had a baby, and so and then
Great.
the other group of couples is about to have a baby, and so there's about to be two new babies. So we're
You might be
down
on
for right
hiatus
now.
for a minute.
Yeah, until further notice.
So Jamilah, kind of, what's your overall origin story with D&D, and not, you don't have to tell us because it sounds like you're a big fan, but you're a player? How long have you played? What's your connection?
Okay. So I feel like maybe I don't want to speak for a lot of people, but I feel like it is like the running joke that is like you get a group and then you never meet up, or like you hardly ever meet up. And so that was kind of the thing until like kind of COVID. I think COVID really solidified like we're in lockdown, we're in the house, like we have nothing to do. Everybody has a sourdough starter on the kitchen table. Everyone's over here trying to do some type of new pasta. Like you're bored. We need to do
We're doing
something.
the
And
best we
so
can.
and so all of the people that I would usually try to do like one-offs with, all were able to like come together, and we've been kind of playing ever since until people had babies.
Yeah.
So it's been like I never played as a kid, and I don't think I really I'm a fantasy girl. Like I like fantasy outside of D&D. Like I like the Lord of the Rings. I like the Hobbit. I like all of that stuff. But I never thought of I always thought of D&D as like a whole bunch of just sweaty, nerdy old men in a basement, like
Hey, there's sweaty 12-year-olds in basements too.
That's true. That's true. My apologies to the 12-year-olds.
They all need deodorant, but
They all need deodorant.
And just like rolling dice.
Yeah.
And like telling each other like, well, I have the orc going here, and like that, doing that type of stuff. Like I was trying to not be that nerdy. I felt like for me D&D, me starting D&D meant like, hey, you are fully committed to being known as a person who is nerdy. Like you give it up, like put the hat of like, oh, I'm just a normal person away. Like you put that away.
No, you're
like
cooked.
Yeah,
you're
get
cooked.
the tribble, start saying "milady." Like it's time, baby. It's time.
Okay, that's so funny because I too have used D&D as like a level of trying to describe my own nerdiness, like because there's sort of, I think there's like an understood like image, and again, it's why, to Shauna's point, like you can be a nerd about fucking Bravo, but like when you hear nerd, you think of a specific archetype. And never having been one of those archetypes, I was like, yeah, well, I'm a different type of nerd. I'm this type of nerd, blah, blah, blah. Baby girl, we're all the same nerds.
Yeah.
Like, and there's weird, sweaty 50-year-olds that are also, going to BravoCon. Let's be real. Like, there are
people selling
people
it
need
out.
deodorant at conventions, period. It doesn't matter what your convention is. And I'm actually like anti-deodorant. I'm pretty pro-natural. But like some of you don't bathe well enough. Sorry, no, hot take. Hot take. I'm pro no deodorant if you are a hygienic person. If your body odor just smells like, oh, that person, I haven't worn. Never mind. We don't have to do all that. We don't have to do all. That's a specific subset. When Shauna and I finally launch a private adults-only Patreon for this podcast, maybe I'll show pits.
The pit tier is gonna go crazy. It's gonna go absolutely.
The pit tier is gonna go crazy.
Is gonna go crazy.
It's actually be the pit crew. They're gonna have their whole name for that.
Yes, they have a fan base. So it's interesting because I played an offshoot introductory game to Dungeons and Dragons that I told you about, Shauna, at volleyball one day, and you remembered what it was, but I'll Google it while someone is talking. But anyways, I did try playing a little bit of that like role-playing game. I have always been a fantasy person. Like I very few people know this about me, but there was a brief period in time where I was an online role player. Like I had a specific screen name for it, and like I would go into AOL chat rooms with my friends, also putting Anthony on blast yet again because he was there for that nerd thing too. We had like screen names for, and they were embarrassing. They were like, uppercase X's and shit. But fantasy never stuck with me, period. Like that game never really stuck with me. That, that role playing era never really stuck with me because I continued role playing. It was just usually like X-Men and Charmed and Buffy and whatever. But like you said, Lord of the Rings, like, I watched them. I've seen them all. Yeah. Like it was all because I was friends at one point with a bunch of sweaty 12-year-old boys, specifically sweaty 12-year-old white boys. And we were like, it was just 2 liters of fucking Mountain Dew and like large pizzas and just like, DNA stains everywhere from like fingerprints and other weird things that teenage boys do at sleepovers. And that's a universal experience. No one's going to clock me. Anyways.
I spent a lot of formative years at a comic book shop. I can concur with all of that.
Thank you.
That is all very...
So yeah, like this, I watched this movie. I did a one-off with Randy, sort of, when we went on like a big gay camping trip one time. I'm super down to get in because, to Jamilah's point, I stopped giving a fuck a long time ago. My friends seem to love it, and it's a group thing to do, and I love group games. And so, I'm a big fan. I'm gonna see, like, it's another opportunity to do things with people who have similar interests, and that feels really nice. But yeah, that's my fantasy world. Shauna, and well, obviously Shauna and Kelli, whichever.
Well, and I think it's a fun, like, because I think there's so many different ways of going about with the role playing. Like, you can make your own character. Like, I find that, like, a lot of times when I play, my characters tend to just be shades of me. And then it's like, oh, like, and so, like, a lot, like, I'm just putting my personality into this character, and that is the character I'm playing. Is like, what if I'm a bard or whatnot? Like, yeah, I'm like, no, there's a musical. But, like, that's really the way. But then, and I have the campaign that I'm doing with, guests of the show, Hector and Snacks, where my character is based off of a character I like on a TV show, Legends of Tomorrow. So, yeah, and so my one character is based on like it has like the personality of because there's an episode where they talk about D&D, because I love a D&D episode of TV shows, and where they describe this character Mick Rory as a half-orc rogue, and I was like, that's perfect. I want to play this like big tough like lady or half orc who's like, I steal things because I don't want you to make eye contact with me, and then I grab it. Like that's my like kind of like gruff, and being able to kind of play a different character and to kind of play a pop culture character, I thought was a lot of fun too.
Agreed.
Yeah, Kelli, that's like what I really like about D&D is having like getting to see people like bring out these very different characters, like not just in like games that I've run, but games that I've played in. Like, just people always bringing like crazy stuff, and it's always, I don't know, I'm always impressed by people's roleplay. And this, especially, I think someone said like, when you're a DM and you can just have your players just sit there and role play, and I'm just like, and I'm just gonna relax. Will you guys just mingle amongst yourselves? Cool. I like that when I could do that, and it's fun.
Yeah. Did you play when you were younger? Was this an adult endeavor?
No, I actually didn't play it when I was younger. I got into D&D around COVID times.
Sure.
I had a friend who was like, I'm doing a game, I'm going to play outside. And that's kind of how I got into it. But it
like
wasn't
we were all sitting around the table.
Yeah, outside the
giant
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's actually weirdly, it wasn't really my first introduction to role-playing games. I actually hated them in college. I had a friend who, I think he played like World of Darkness, which is like D&D with vampires and werewolves and stuff. and he tried to get me to play, and I sat and watched the session, and I was like, well, I hate this. This is annoying. This sounds hard. I don't want to, have to pretend to be someone for 2 hours.
Right.
But
He
then I
had very
realized he was.
specific rules
Oh, yeah, he
about
had like
whether
crazy
you
rules.
couldn't break character.
Yeah, you couldn't break character the whole session. If you had to say something out of character, he's like, put your hand on your head and say something out of character, or else
Oh,
I
God.
assume your character's saying it.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, this sounds so stressful. Who would
Oh,
ever want to do
boy.
this? And then I realized he was crazy.
Yeah.
And this
Sure.
is not how most people play.
Sure. Yeah, there is something a little bit intimidating by it, but like again, if you get with the right group of people, it's fun. It doesn't really like, it's really not that big of a deal. But it is a commitment. Like you have commitment in the sense of like you have to commit to the bit basically.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have to fucking buy in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's weird and it's boring. But if you can really like, buy in a little bit and drink the Kool-Aid and be like, I am a tiefling. What would you like to know? You know what I mean? Like then it's a different story.
Yeah. I think for you, Ryan, I think because like I know that you like the theater. I think it would just like it would speak to the actor inside
Mhm.
of you. Like I think that's what it like really kind of drawed out in me. Like for like because for so long I hadn't been acting, and I was like, oh, I'm not really doing anything
Yeah.
with like my musical theater feelings. So like,
Hmm.
and then I like my friends got me into the game, and at first I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like we like I do this thing, and it's like hard because you're like learning how to do the mechanics of like, oh, I'm rolling this thing and doing all this stuff.
Yes.
But my first character that I played was just I named her Noms. Like I just don't I like it was just a
Uh-huh.
throwaway name. I wasn't thinking anything of it, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is just Noms the fighter. And then
Hmm.
the after we finished that, we came back like it was like a sequel to our thing, and we did a whole thing. And so my DM was like, okay, like let's really draw that out. Like who is your like what happened to your
Ooh.
character? And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, yeah, like during the whole campaign I was like talking about how I was gonna open up a store, or like open up like a coffee shop in all of these places. And I was like, my character liked gold and was thinking of franchising. Oh, my person's a capitalist. Like I'm just gonna
Oh,
so
sure.
like
Sure.
so I just made
Lean
it
in.
Nom. Yeah, so it was just like Nom's the capitalist is now my name. She had a little top hat. She had everything. She had a little monocle. We ended up going down to hell in D&D. And
Sure.
so my goal for the whole thing was like I'm gonna open up a shop in hell. I'm gonna open up coffee in this hell area.
Hmm.
Never happened. I got a son and then he died, but never. That was like that was my main goal, and it kind of like it was like really fun, and it got me back into like kind of like writing and like doing all that
Yeah.
type of stuff. Even though like I don't think my DM really cares. Like I do a backstory for my characters. I don't think my
Sure.
DM cares about my
Sure. Yeah,
backstory,
that's for you. That's so you can
but
access motivation.
no, I want everyone to know about my backstory. I need
Oh,
people
got
to read
it. You want
my full, yeah. I need them to
did you
know
get
that
my Jamila, did you get my 1.5 page document with detailed notes about how the podcast will run?
yes,
Because I
yes,
understand the
yes.
idea of just you have to get it out.
No,
You
yeah,
have
you
to
got to get
write.
my things. Like
You got to get my things.
I had one backstory where it was like, oh, this my person is like from an orphanage, and they had like people that they talked to. They didn't talk to their dad. Their dad died. It was like a whole thing, and my DM was just like, that's really nice. I don't know what I'm gonna do with
Yeah.
this. Basically, just
Anyways, magic missile. That's my Dungeons and Dragons joke. Okay, really quickly, just because you said theater, and that's how Jamila and I met. This is like I'm gonna tell a quick 30-second side story. Because there's probably like one person that listens to this podcast, that is of course Ryan Smith, that would understand. Obviously I have a list of musical, like characters from musicals that I would love to play at some point in my life. Obviously, those days are long gone. One of my favorite musicals of all time is Little Shop of Horrors, and that is where Jamilah and I met, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And she was, so the street urchin character, the girls that do all the doo-wop singing in the background, I want to be one of them. Like, I want to be Gina and Pam. I can't remember their real names right now, from
yeah.
Martin. I want to be them. I want to be singing in a stupid little satin dress and, like, my wig turned around. And since I never got to do that, the closest thing I ever got to do was choreograph for them, because me and my friend Cynthia were the choreographers for Little Shop of Horrors, and I got to put choreography on Jamilah for the street urchins. And I think about it all the fucking time. Fun backstory about musical theater nerds. Anyways. Okay, so let's get into the movie.
Okay. All right. So now here's the synopsis for Dungeons and Dragons. Having spent 2 long years in a dark and dank prison cell after a botched attempt to get his hands on a magical artifact, lute-playing bard turned thief Edgin Darvis decides he has had enough, and as the
Quick
once
pause.
respected former member.
Sorry, I already put a pause. I just finished this. I just finished this movie like an hour and a half ago.
I love that.
There is
Was that your first time watching it, or was it just a
Yes, 100%. I'd never seen it before.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
There is a person on the council that he goes to see that is an eagle that he's waiting for, and the eagle's name is Jarnathan.
Oh,
And
Jarnathan is my favorite character.
Actually, he's
Yeah.
an Aarakocra.
oh, thank you for the first actually, Kelly. Crushed it. Whatever he is, his name is Jarnathan, and I fucking love that. It made me laugh out loud.
And I think that is the real thing that this movie does so well, is it really feels like you are watching a off-the-rails D&D campaign filled with them making their ideas up on the fly, realizing it's not working quite like they hoped, and wishing they had a little bit more skill than they end up having and still needing to learn. And I think it just really, like I saw someone say that they would love to see these characters or the actors play different characters next time.
Yeah.
And I really love that idea. But, I thought, which Chris is it? Is it Pine?
Chris Pine?
Yes,
I think it's Pine.
Yeah.
Yes. And, he was, I think, one of my least favorite Pines. But you know what? Shout out to Star-Lord for really dropping himself down. Chris Pine, you are the benefactor
of the number 3 slot as opposed to the number 4 slot.
Congratulations.
Yes,
well done.
the worst Chris remains the one that plays Star-Lord, and the one that fucked up Endgame and made everyone be blipped because he's a fucking toddler. Okay, so the Harpers, is that a real thing in Dungeons and Dragons? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Kelly, do you want to explain somewhat like where a lot of this comes in? Like, because a lot of it came from D&D lore.
I'm gonna do my best, because I'll throw out. I haven't watched this movie in a year, so see what I
have
remember.
Specific parts that I noted. I was like, I wonder if this is a reference, because as a nerd, I know that something like that is going to be chock full of, like, if you know type moments. Like, it's like the comic books on steroids, because there's so much source material to draw from, which I guess comics are too. But so Chris Pine.
Chris Pine, yeah.
First and foremost, in a different timeline, that's Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Thank you. He said when they like fall out of the window or something, he says, bird fly. And it literally sounds like Brendan Fraser in The Mummy or something. It could have been Brendan Fraser. But so Edgin is a part of like a thief. Like, what are the Harpers?
So if I remember correctly, I feel like someone's gonna watch and be like, "That's incorrect." But they're just like
you're gonna get actually right away.
I'm gonna get actually, because I know some of these groups I like know of them. Like, I recognize that name from them being a background group that did stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're mostly like they're kind of a lawful good group that just kind of does like enacts like think they're religious too, like acts laws and like does with some like religious stuff in the background.
Yeah, he
I've
like
never actually
Columbus.
used them, but they do stuff.
Yeah,
they're
definitely
they're
not
they're an
lawful good.
organization that just exists throughout
There,
D&D lore.
there's a scene when he's introducing them and he kind of shares what they do. They're like spies, but for whomever, and so they like, they showed someone running away, stealing something, and Edgin's right there, and he like trips him, and he's just like,
Yeah,
"You're
it's kind of
you're lawful good, like chaos agents."
that describes them pretty well. I mostly have ever used them as like, I am giving you a quest. Here's your quest giver. They are a
Mm.
harper, I guess, but that's not relevant. Ignore it. What's that? It's fine. Just here's your quest. Please take it.
They're a harper, I guess.
This is where
Because-
Hector comes in and asks
Yes.
50 questions.
Yes, Hector will come in and
Absolutely,
ask
like-
me the 50 questions. I'm just like, I
And
don't
ultimately decide
know
they wanna
what
fight.
happened in this organization 5 years ago,
Right.
and why this is a what? Why
Yeah,
are you
Hector
asking
says,
this?
"When can I use magic missile?" Because that's always my question.
No, that's the type of character I am, where I'm like, type of player I am, where the DM will just it feels like it's a throwaway, where it's like it's not really important, and then I'm like,
Mhm.
oh no, I'm gonna drill down on that. Yeah, now, yeah, I've opened it up. I'm coming
Yeah.
in there.
You presented me information. That's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
And
a
this is where I
curious
start
little
making
bitch.
stuff up and
Yeah.
hope that I remember next time it comes up. I'm like, what did I said this?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I said that. I
Don't
was
worry,
making it up
Jamilah
on the
wrote it
fly.
down.
Yeah.
Jamilah has extensive notes on it.
No, it is a running joke in my groups that I take no notes. Like it is such a big joke that one of my one of my characters, I would always note, like, my character took notes. I took no notes still. Like, I would just say that my character took notes.
Right. Yeah. You have the concept of a plan.
Yeah.
You have a concept
Yeah.
of notes.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting. Are you a gamer, like a video gamer by chance, Jamilah?
I'm a, what is it? Like, what are they called? Like, people who,
Cozy games.
yeah, I'm just do, like, basically, like, Stardew Valley has
Yeah,
been in
cozy
my
games.
top, in my top 3 for the last however long it's been, and it's
Mhm.
gonna stay there until they pry that game out of my hands or my DS dies. Like, either
Yeah.
one. Like, it's either one. I don't know which one, but
Right.
I love that. I never really played games as a kid. My mom would always come in when I was starting, like when it felt like I was just starting to get to a spot in a game, and be like,
Yeah.
go outside, go read a book. So
Right.
I never got to be like a true, like, gamer in the way that I want to game. So I don't have the like, I guess
Sure.
I'll say, like, the ability to, like,
The
be like,
attachment.
be there with
Yeah.
it. But
It is definitely something that we build in. I was just asking because you would totally be a loot princess in Fortnite, which is like a whole specific subgenre that we now use as a tag for our friends, because it basically just means you're a dumb slut that likes shiny stuff.
oh yeah,
Which is-
that's on brand. That is on brand.
Yeah. So me and Shauna will be like passengers in cars, and Ryan will have to be like, "Get back in the car. You don't need to explore every golden chest." Kelly can attest, because Kelly knows
I
that
watched her play a
Shauna.
lot.
Yeah, Kelly will scold Shauna in the background like, "You're really far away from your team, Shauna."
Like, someone's got to
So-
be
Being
paying attention.
helpful.
It's
I'm
not
helping.
me. So.
Exactly. Okay, so pick us back up, Shauna. Sorry.
Oh god. Okay. So yeah, throws Jonathan off the window and then
Jonathan,
ends
say
up
it right.
Jonathan. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I always thought it was Jonathan, and so I just have it in my head. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you meet his fierce barbarian companion, Holgan Kilgore, played by, I believe, Michelle Rodriguez.
Correct.
Yes. And assemble a motley crew of old and new friends, a dangerous mission to reunite with Edgin's daughter Kira, and the busy streets of the mythical Neverwinter have eyes, evil sorcerers, powerful necromancers, and legendary creatures of lore that now stand in the way.
Okay,
Do
so
Edgin's misfits have what it takes to complete their quest in the perilous world of Dungeons and Dragons?
a nice little overview, and I didn't even really jump in too much. Okay, but not my one thought, I have several thoughts, obviously, I have notes. I was surprised at the script. I had some laughs. I thought it was funny. I thought it was well written. I was actually really, because sometimes things like that just end up being like kind of like not fluff garbage. You know what I mean? Like in Dungeons and Dragons, the least important thing is the script of what they're saying, because the best part about Dungeons and Dragons is that it's like improv. And so there's something about like good luck finding that natural balance, and it seemed really good.
I agree. Like I think it was very fun, and that's what a D&D movie should be to me, and it really did capture that kind of element that everyone just felt like it was silly when it needed to be, but took itself just serious enough that you didn't lose sight of the fantasy of it all. And I think that is a real difficult balance to play, and I thought they did a really good job of that.
So Michelle Rodriguez, let's talk the cast for a moment. Michelle Rodriguez has said problematic things in the past. Yep. I don't remember what many of them are, except I'm pretty sure they were anti-Black. And probably. Also, she gives big closeted lesbian vibes. She might not be closeted anymore. But
she might go back, shit.
Right. Honestly, she might go back. Because I think she said something stupid about gay people too. But anyways, she's never done it for me. I've never been like, oh my God, Michelle Rodriguez is in this. But the bitch is a good physical actor. Like, she gets into those stunts, those fight scenes. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen Michelle Rodriguez, like, fucking throw someone over their shoulder. But she looks great when she does it. It's believable.
She's a great barbarian.
A great physical actor. Oh, she's a great barbarian.
She is good.
Yeah, like I loved how she played a barbarian. Yeah. It's just like, yep, this is every barbarian I've ever played with. This right here.
There was a moment when, right before they find the hither tither wand that makes the portals, where they're trying to like problem solve because Simon, the hapless sorcerer, steps on the little tile that makes the whole bridge disappear, because there's like, oh, that was definitely a moment where I was like, oh, this is directly from like a DM's like book, or like a Dungeons and Dragons manual. So Zank, the guy played by Regé Jean Pierce, I think, the from Bridgerton.
Jean Pierce.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to remember his name.
It's fine. It's fine.
The pretty light skinned one that kind of made me mad. Yeah, the pretty light skinned one that kind of made me like, I was just like, shut up, Zank. Shut up, Zank. Shut up. You're so self righteous. But he's like explaining.
For a paladin.
Right. Okay. What do paladins do? I'm sorry. What's their whole gig?
Whole gig are like, so they are basically holy warriors. They're similar to clerics. They normally pick a religion pretty early on, and I've seen some, pretty chaotic paladins, but for the most part, they tend to be they're your soldiers. They're honestly, they're your cops.
Paladins are cops. Okay, got it.
If I said one of your friends is playing a paladin in our campaign, who do you think it is?
Oh my God, I have no. Is there a paladin in your campaign?
Yes.
Remind me.
A paladin? Who's a paladin?
Remind me.
Or no, I'm sorry, you're right. It's not a paladin, but it's very similar. It was cleric. I always think paladin and cleric are very. I feel like they're very similar, but paladin's a little bit more fighty, and
cleric's more magic-y.
Cleric's more spell, but they're both the same kind of like. I'm just going to follow the rules.
Kind of self-righteous, generally,
like FBI versus like regular beat cop.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, so it's not Hector. I'll say that much.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that. Is it Eric?
No. Eric plays a sorcerer that is very bad at what he does. Literally put all of his skills in the wrong places, so that way his best skills are like dexterity, which you don't need as a wizard.
Sure.
And like because he's like purposefully like a very rich character.
Sure.
That is just like fails up.
Shauna, or sorry, not Shauna. Jamilah, what's your favorite class of character to play? What's your go-to?
So I because I like when I come to D&D, I come to the space for fun. I
Like Nicole Kidman in the
yeah,
AMC movies.
yeah. No, I like to I try to turn my brain off. For some odd reason, whenever I start playing D&D, my brain decides that like it is not going to be here. It's going to
Mhm.
be everywhere else but where I need it. So
Mhm.
anything that's like not just a plain like I'm just I'm just a fighter. Like I'm just a
Mhm.
regular old knight person.
Yeah, I'm just here to nuck.
Yeah, I and like and then the I those are tends to be the ones that I play. But then I get upset because as you're scaling up, everyone else is getting like cool stuff. Like they're getting
Sure.
spells, they're getting things, and then it's just like you got some HP, girl. Like
Right. You got more HP.
yeah, like that's
You
really
found a you
Still
found a
punch good.
shovel.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, you said just like a fighter? Like
yeah.
what's that class?
I try bard a lot. I do try bard a lot,
Hmm.
and then I'm bad at it.
Okay, great.
Um, because I feel like Bard is a really good supporting character. Like I think that they do really well when they are able to like you're able to maximize your joint slay for all the other characters. I'm bad at that because a part of me is like I want to fight, but I also just want to sing. And also, a lot of my characters, I'm like I don't want to opt in. Like
Why don't you be a rogue? I feel like you should be a rogue.
I should be a. Here's the thing: I should be a rogue, but I don't wanna because
Got it.
I'm
Sure.
obstinate. So I
Sure.
am fighting. I'm fighting myself. I'm fighting my DM. I'm fighting
Sure.
everyone else. I it's
So you're Mystique, whatever category Mystique would be.
yeah. What
She's
is
just there for the vibes
yeah
and for a complicated backstory.
yeah? Who is like the character? If I could, if there was a like a role for a person who was just like I don't want to do anything that you've planned, but
Hmm.
I want to know what you planned. Like I don't want to do it, but I
I
want to
just
know
want to
what
know
you have decided to tell us that you think that we're gonna do.
because I
We're not
might join in a little bit later.
yeah, I'm not
We
doing
might
it.
we might maximize said joint slay at
Yeah,
some point in this campaign,
yeah.
but just know I'm here. I mean, that does sort of sound like what Hector does because Hector just likes to pick fights. What's your go-to class, Shauna?
My go-to is rogue. I
Yeah.
love playing a rogue because I think it has really fun abilities in terms of like can do a lot of damage. I can stay far away and be sneaky and get to kind of do all
Hmm.
the like the fun like it has fun like utility stuff but also good damage because like I love Bard, but you're right, it's so utility based.
Yes.
And if you're in a campaign that's very heavy combat, I
Hmm.
feel like
Mm.
sometimes I feel really underpowered and wanting to be able to do more. And it's like, I guess I'll hit with my little dinky crossbow.
Yep.
Cool. Here's a spell. It's vicious mockery. Take that 1d4 damage. Like,
um,
sucks.
the
Like,
you said something about. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you. Was that the end of what you were saying?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Kelly, do DMs get classes?
I mean, I'm every class. I
Sure,
do it all.
sure.
So
Okay, got it. I was just curious because I'm like, I do think that there's something interesting about personality types in there. But I don't like, I guess I would usually go for like wizard or sorcerer. I have had everyone try to explain it to me every single time what the difference is, but I never remember the difference between a wizard and a sorcerer. Um, so perhaps it will stick this time. What's the difference between a wizard and a sorcerer?
I mean, it's mostly a lot of the magic ones. It's mostly how the difference is how you got your magic.
Got it.
So wizard gets their magic from studying.
Uh-huh.
They sat down in the library and just read and learned and just they put the work in to learn all their spells.
Hmm.
Sorcerers were born with it.
Got
They were
it.
just born with the ability to do magic, and yeah, they can just do it. And there's like
Interesting.
There's like overlap in some spells, but like they're gonna have different. It's all how they got there, you know.
Sure.
And then there's warlocks too, because they made a deal with a deity or of some sort or other to get their powers.
Oh.
And so that's how then they get theirs.
Interesting. I also kind of funny considering that we were talking about Wicked earlier, and in Wicked there's obviously the wizard, but there is also sorcerers, which is what Glinda wants to be. Which I guess I don't know in this instance what the difference. I'm sure it's in the book.
I think
but
Glinda's more of the wizard who wants to learn via studying, and then Elphaba is the sorcerer who is born with it innately.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I feel like she wants to learn sorcery from Madame Morrible. Like,
yeah.
Or maybe she just wants to study under her and she is a sorcerer. Maybe. Anyways. The different types. One of the things that you said about barbarians and Michelle Rodriguez being a great barbarian, right before they find the hither tither thing, I started down this path and then forgot. They're trying to figure out how to cross the bridge, and she goes, I have a rope in my bag, and I could tie it to my axe and then throw it across the way. And first of all, the I have a rope in my bag feels like a very specific Dungeons and Dragons
it
reference.
Super is.
Yeah, like, no, you don't. You don't have a fucking rope in that bag. But for some reason, everyone has a rope in their bag. Why does everyone have ropes in their bags?
Starting equipment-wise, rope comes with starting equipment. And
Got it.
Pretty much every time I've ever had someone use a rope, it's always the same reaction of just like, I have one of those.
Yeah.
I actually have that. And
I have a rope
like,
in my bag.
I also have rope. We all have rope.
Let's tie them together and make a really long rope. But like it was just that moment where I was like, okay, got it. Yeah, like that feels from the way that all of these like archetype characters or these exemplars of characters like exist across the fantasy universes. Like, yeah, the barbarian is stupid, and she thought she could throw an axe at stone and it would stick and they would swing across. I really thought that was hysterical. That whole scene with the bridge, and Zank is like saying, okay, well, first you have to use the odd number tiles until we switch the halfway point, and then you can only use the even number tiles, but you have to skip every other even number tile. And I was like, I'm certain that they gave some fucking DM an Adderall and they were like, write the worst like bridge like experience that a game player could ever have. And he was like, or they were like, bet, I got you. Here's your script. It's 15 pages.
That I think that kind of solidified to me that like Zink's character was just like the DM's insert, where it was just like the DM is like, you guys are gonna fail. You guys are gonna fail so bad. Like,
you need help.
You need help.
NPC come in. Please help them. Casually drop all the answers.
Yep.
Yes. Because he doesn't go with them on the quest. That's such also a great astute point.
Yeah, because it would the power scale level for that would just be insane. Like if you bring in the character that is definitely overpowered to the ending battle, like you're just like
I was totally thinking that during. I was like, I guess I didn't think of him as the DM, like proxy or insert or whatever, but like, also that's a thing in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like you can literally drop in a random character.
Yeah, I just have random NPC shows up.
We've had NPCs in our party forever. That
you guys have too many NPCs in your party. It's stressful for me to remember who all is wandering around with you.
We had a snail, Izzy, at one point.
You got a what?
Yeah.
A snail.
Oh, work.
Oh yeah, snail.
I also
hot air balloon that is coming back. It's Kelly's favorite. Not. She loves this hot air balloon.
I hate hot air balloon.
There was a scene when we first meet Simon, the wizard, I don't know, whichever one he is. Sorcerer.
Yeah.
He it's our introduction to him. He's conning people, doing like simple tricks, to make a buck or whatever. And first of all, Justice Smith,
Mm-hmm.
a grade A cutie,
Mm-hmm.
real cutie pie. But he has gotten some pretty iconic roles already. Like, I don't think he's like young, but he seems like fresher. He was on this like show Generation on HBO that was kind of like a different version of Euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
But he also was in the Academy for Magical Negroes recently. He was
Wasn't he in
in
Detective Pikachu?
Yes.
Detective Pikachu, which was going to be the penultimate one. And then there's another one that I realized he was in because I had seen Detective Pikachu, and I was like, it feels strange as an adult person to be like, isn't that the guy from Detective Pikachu?
Lies. That is the only way
Well,
I remember him.
Yes.
but he's also in I Saw the TV Glow, which I still
Oh,
really
that's
want
the
to
one.
see.
Yeah.
He's the main
Yes.
character in that.
In
Oh,
Generation, there's this scene that is pretty incredible where he like jumps in a pool. He's like, they're playing high schoolers. It's very a Euphoria. It's very like Euphoria, and I imagine they canceled it because it was on at the same time as Euphoria. But he jumps into a pool and he starts complaining, and he goes, "It's a party and nobody wants to party with me." And I was like, oh wow, that feels like me 15 years ago. Just, why doesn't anyone want to party with me? I'm just trying to party on a Wednesday. Oh, also, that's speaking of, I wore my number one party school. So Jamilah and I both went to OU. So
I
this
was
Nice.
is
wondering what that
this
shirt said.
yeah, this is one of, and it has a bunch of oh, it just says Ohio University in there. It has this was my first, like, perhaps one of my first nerd identities. I was a fucking nerd about Ohio University. I, like, someone learned that about me recently. They're like, oh, I didn't know you went to OU. I was like, oh, that says a lot about how much I've grown, because it was like 60% of my personality for the first 4 years after I graduated. No joke. That was like all I had to offer to the world. Something that I thought was really interesting. Oh, I was talking about Simon. Simon, he does a little spell and he like starts to float up into the sky, which is also one of my worst fears. He like turns off gravity, or he switches gravity or something. That's one of my worst fears, and so I didn't like seeing that. But I did, like, from early on in the movie, start thinking about the like rolls thing, like the roll for dexterity or whatever, and then like they're doing a there's a scene where he's trying to do an illusion and it starts to like glitch out. It's Chris Pine going
Yeah.
into the village and singing, and his Simon's foot gets stuck in a brick, and I'm like, oh, he would have failed us a roll for sneaking. Is that what it would be? Stealth.
That since it started fine and then got bad, I would assume probably failed sneaking and then had to roll for concentration and
Okay,
failed the
got it.
concentration roll.
Dang. See, I obviously did not get that deep into it, but I was like, that is that's also how plots are made. You could literally write a movie by like just using a dice roll and being like, all right, well, they failed dexterity, so
Mhm.
how are they going to fuck this one up? I never thought about it like that. Basic plot points. Um, the other thing that I liked seeing was like random references. Like, so obviously the magic missile is featured. And as a person who played Baldur's Gate, which, okay, sorry, this is one of my huge notes. Baldur's Gate is a thing in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
There's a Baldur's Gate is a city in Dungeons and Dragons. There's I think even I have one of the campaigns where they go to Avernus. You know, that's
News to me, because there's the PlayStation, well, it's the online game Baldur's Gate, which is essentially just Dungeons and Dragons on PlayStation, and it couldn't hold my attention then either, unfortunately. I just, so much dialogue. It was so much fucking dialogue.
You said too reedy. Hate it.
To read it, hate it. Where am guns? Me want kill. Um, but the final battle between the red witch person who's
Mhm.
like trying to do the death thing, and then Simon like kicks ass, and it's two hand formations. Oh yeah, and Kelly and I were talking about, like, was supposed to be what
I
what
think
did
it
you
was
call it?
Mage Hand.
Mage hand,
They're like
and they're like
both having
fighting
hands
each
Oh
and
yeah.
other.
fighting each other.
I enjoyed that. That was the end of that note. I enjoyed that. Um, okay. Any thoughts of things that we didn't mention? Re Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, the Tiefling played by what's her name? Doric, Sophia Lillis. She was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people complained that she didn't look like the, stereotypical tiefling from Dungeons and
Mm,
Dragons, which is
Hmm.
a little more on the demony looking side,
Hmm.
Mm.
And I don't know. I agree with that. I guess it could have been cool, but also she looked fine.
Yeah,
It's a movie. They're gonna change things,
of
and I
course.
don't really care. I liked
There's
her
a moment.
character.
I thought she was really cool. I liked the
The druid
wild
was
shape
a
thing. Yeah. There's a moment at the end when everything is like getting all exciting and um like all of them they've completed their quests,
mhm.
and Simon asks Doric out on a date, and her response is, yeah, calm down. And it reminded me of specifically a funny moment in Agatha All Along when he's freaking out about Lorna Wu, and Catherine Ahn goes, "Take it easy," and it just felt like a moment that was for me. That's
mm,
that's it. Anything special about this movie that, like, as Dungeons and Dragons nerds, you all like really appreciated?
It was like I did just generally love how it did kind of feel like a ridiculous campaign
Mhm.
of just their plan is really complicated and just somehow works, but kind of barely, but also still does, and
Right.
feels like what are they? I think they make a joke that's like, no, we're on
Plan C.
Plan C or whatever it was. It's like, yeah, that's how most D&D games go.
Yeah.
Just we're on plan whatever D at this point, and it's kind of working. And this thing's working for no reason beyond like someone rolled a really good. Someone rolled well here for that to have worked.
Right. Right. Shauna, Jamila, anything that you appreciated about the film?
I I like seeing the backstories of the characters. Like I think I just really like the drama in kind of the Michelle Rodriguez barbarian character.
Sure.
I loved that is like she had like this little boy, this not little boy,
Yeah.
this tiny
Yeah.
this tiny husband that was like, hey girl, I don't want to be with you anymore, like
Yeah. You're
please
doing too much.
wrap it up. I got a new big bitch in the back, like please wrap it up. Wrap it up.
That scene, first of all, the husband, it took me like 5 minutes to be like, is that Bradley Cooper? It's a very small Bradley Cooper, which is hysterical. But then the fact that he has another, as Jamila put it, another big bitch wife, really took me down too. I was like, oh, this is funny. This is niche humor.
it's like it's when you're dating someone and then you break up and then you go and find that they found someone else. They're like, oh, okay, I was a
Yeah.
type. Okay,
Hmm.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I
Yes.
get it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts on it, Jamila? Any other big things that made you smile?
Just I think just the movie in general. I think I went into it thinking it wasn't. I was kind of like, oh, it's not gonna be that good. Like it's gonna be like kind of like how lots of maybe like video game movies
Yeah.
end up, where it's just like you're just like they try, but like I don't think that they really care about the source material. And this,
Sure.
like Kelly has said, like it really just felt like it was like you watching like a group of people sit down and be like, we're gonna make the most chaotic thing
Yes.
happen, and then
Yes.
we're gonna go front to back, like this is it. And it
Yep.
kind of just felt like it felt like some of the campaigns that like I've been in were just like nothing should have worked, absolutely nothing. Like one campaign, I the what was it? We were doing Strahd. So Strahd is like a vampire like campaign where it's like you get stuck in this like town city thing, and then you have to fight this vampire man to get out. And so in it, the characters and I, we all ended up going to a city, and we ended up like getting everyone killed and burning the city down. And and we all, like, to be honest, it wasn't all of us. It was one character that ended up doing it, and we all like looked at the character. We're like, "How you just burned down the entire city? You just got everyone murdered and
It's
burned down the
always just
city."
one person.
Yeah.
You just burned it down
Yeah.
and got them murdered. And,
Sure.
and they were like, "Oh, my apology." Like, it was just like, and just like the entire mood of the whole campaign is just dark because it's like sad and gory and like moody, and it's just like you're just turning to like you're just like, oh, you've killed this entire all these people are gone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think like something kind of like watching that kind of chaotic thing on screen and seeing that like the people who wrote it and created it also, I feel like they've also had moments of that, and I feel like I felt the love of like of people who actually liked the thing
Yeah.
that they were doing, and it was
Yeah.
really just nice to. It was nice to see. I want, like, after I finished watching it, I was like, I hope I get like 80 more of this. Like I don't I don't really want more like Spider-Verse type stuff, but like, to be
Right.
honest, I could do a couple D&D verse type stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I could do
Yeah.
like 8 more of these. Like, just put them in a bag. Like, that would be cool. Like, you get whole new characters. Maybe you switch out some of them because it's just like some of them are gonna
Didn't they
die.
do
Some of them
that
are gonna
with
be old.
They do that with Jumanji where it was the same four actors but they played different
Yes, and
avatars or something?
I just watched those the other day, and I was like, to be honest, these aren't bad. They're not bad films.
I like
We
the
could
first one of the
Yeah.
new ones. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never saw the second of the new ones, but
So,
I
yeah.
like the first one.
like
Uh-oh.
we could go on about how The Rock is not that good of an actor, but that's a separate thing
Yes.
outside of itself. So
Yes.
yeah.
Shauna, anything in particular that made you happy as a fan?
I really liked the gelatinous cube. I thought that was a
Yeah, what
really
was that?
good. So that is a very
Trap.
common D&D spell, is these gelatinous cubes, and so
Got
having
it.
that was one of those like Easter eggs, like you were saying, that really like, oh, I'm glad they put that in there. Same with the Displacer Beast that's on Kelly's shirt, making an appearance
I'm
as
wearing a
well.
Slice of Beef shirt.
Oh, that
Yeah.
thing from the games.
hmm
Very cool. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I gathered all that stuff was
Like,
gonna be.
it's a thing,
Yeah.
but like, and like little things like needing to take time to attune to the magical object is something you
Yeah.
have to do in D&D. And there's like
Yeah.
little kinds of like, again, that appreciation for the lore and source material that I think is so important in making nerdy things, because so often you see them being ashamed of their own property
Totally.
and not having that, and just embracing that this is weird and loved by nerds and we are they and it's for you. And I
Yeah.
think that is something, and again, going back to our beginning topic of where I worry that they're not going to do that with this Captain America movie, that it
hmm
is better when it's made with a love and appreciation and knowing that even if it's not for everybody, it is who I made it for.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that, I think, is something the D&D movie gets very well, and why it is such a good jumping in point for people like you who didn't really know as much, but also for people like, us who have done it and like got to see ourselves in it too.
Totally. Yeah, I was really I think one thing I like about contemporary fantasy more is that they understand that like these are the places where you can have the most sort of like atypical actors, like people that don't necessarily fit into standard Hollywood tropes and archetypes. It was a little disappointing, like you just kind of had like one of the Chris's as the lead, and somehow Bradley Cooper still ends up making his way in, and like Justice Smith and Kira, the daughter, are I think, the only two main Black characters, and they're both like extremely light skinned. Like, it's not without its issues, and also like it is really fun to watch and be like, oh, that kind of looks like, he kind of looks like me. So there is a little bit of like, um, of like my own bias there to be like, it's not that big of a deal because I see myself. But at the end of the day, like, it is, fantasy has a long way to go to continue to improve like how they represent all of the types of players in the world. Because what Shauna and I really, when we were planning these episodes, we were trying to think like, that is, in the nerd genres, in the nerd subgenres, like the fantasy realm is still so overwhelmingly owned by like, white dudes in basements. And that's not the people that participate in those worlds or consume that media. And so, hopefully I don't have that great of an interest. We will not be talking about Game of Thrones because I refuse to watch it because too many people said I should watch it, and I'm obstinate like Jamilah, but in a different way. But yeah, so the one question that we always ask at the end of our podcast: who is the hottest character in Dungeons and Dragons? Because you all are super nerds, I will say that can extend to the larger D&D cinematic universe, even if they weren't portrayed on screen. But I only have who was on screen to draw from.
So I was trying to think of this when you sent the like script and stuff. I'm like, who do I think is the like? It's hard to think of who's the hottest just in all of D&D character, because for the most part, like I do a lot of like pre-made adventures just because it's easy, and sometimes I'm lazy. It's mostly all descriptions, and so it's gonna be hard. Like, how am I reading this description? How hot is this description of a person? It's
But
difficult.
hey, we all know what good fanfic reads like. Let's not.
That's true.
This
let's
is true.
not pretend that this group of people doesn't know that you can absolutely into a description of a character. We all know that part's true.
That's true.
All right, that's fine. You don't have to have a hottest.
Well, if I had to pick something like in all of D&D lore, I'd actually probably just end up falling into Baldur's Gate. And
sure.
To me, the answer then is Karlach.
Okay, got it.
She's the hottest to me.
Got it. Okay, cool. I wish I knew who that was.
You gotta.
I like that you didn't even get into Baldur's Gate 3 enough to know, like.
Didn't even get to Karlach. That's okay.
I mean, I might have. Shauna, you played it. Did I get to Karlach?
I believe you did.
Guys played.
Actually.
I don't know.
That was a while ago.
She's the tiefling who's basically on fire.
Oh, yeah. She's got a big old tail.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely know who that is because I think my character was also a tiefling in that. So cool. Sounds right. Jamilah, do you have one?
Okay, I think so before the campaign, before this last campaign that we were doing, maybe I can do. Okay, so in the not Harry Potter campaign that we did, because D&D came out with like its own like magic university.
Sure, yeah.
There was a big sort of like a minotaur guy that was kind of hot. He had glasses. He was like really cute.
Yeah.
I want the people who watch and or listen to this to know that like I in my reading do love monsters. I'm not like a big monstery weirdo.
Yeah. You're not a monster fucker.
No, that's true. No, I am, but I don't want people to think that like I'm a horrible person.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, no, do not.
I fuck monsters.
I am and would.
Yeah, no, I would.
But in a normal way.
In a normal way.
Yeah, as long as the human half is on bottom.
Hey,
nope. Jamilah said, actually.
Listen, I'm not judging no one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
that's our show for no.
No redemption for Jamilah. You
and
fuck
then
horses. Okay, got it.
and then in this last campaign we were doing where crap, it was the one where there's like dinosaurs and stuff. There are men. They're snake men. They're sexy snake men.
Okay.
People.
There's
Yeah.
60 snake men.
They're
Quan
sexy,
T.
yeah, they're sexy snake people, and I'm not really giving myself a good case that I'm not.
You're fine. You don't have to explain shit. It's you. First of all, you establish yourself as a monster fucker, and we think that's really important.
Listen, I just need everyone to know, to know
Yeah,
me. I need to
yeah.
bare my soul open. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some cute pictures of what these characters look like, and we'll like put them on the screen when we're talking
No, because
about
now
them.
you're gonna see. Here's the thing: you're gonna post them, and people are gonna be like,
Bad take. Bad take.
"Yeah."
You already said you want to do a hear me out cake for.
Oh, but because the talking animals in Wicked are
Oh,
hot.
right.
No, that's hot. They're hot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Okay, we're not going back down
Sorry, my
the
apologies.
which is Dr. Dillman fuckable.
Yes.
Shauna, who's the hottest character in the D&D world?
So I think in the movie, I do love a likable fuck up rascal like Chris Pine's character. Like at the end
Sure.
of the day, that is an archetype that I do find attractive, and I'm like, okay, the charismatic asshole will always
Right.
have a soft spot in my heart. It is what it is. So I think I'm gonna go with that for the movie. And in like general kind of D&D realm, I think like it's hard to argue with Karlach because like
Yeah.
she's pretty
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that those are my two answers. I think I'm gonna follow Kelly's lead there.
Okay. I think in the D&D movie, I mean, honestly, I don't really recall anyone being Jarnathan. I'm going with Jarnathan.
Jarnathan.
Yes, and that's a good
For
answer.
The wings of an angel.
Yeah. I literally started down the path and I was like, nope, never mind. Abandon it. It's Jarnathan. And then I think I will say, it really stuck out to me. Shauna's naked character in Baldur's Gate when we would go to camp. Every single time I would remark and be like, wow, Shauna's character, boy, do I have a girl for you.
I may.
Okay. So yeah, it was, that's our show on Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you to both Jamilah and Kelli for joining us. Jamilah, it was great to giggle with you.
Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry.
Can't wait to find another opportunity for you to bring out your animals. Yeah, it was great to
Something
chat
bad
with you
dragon
both.
is happening in Oz.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Can't wait to see what animals we get in part 2. Check us out on Instagram at Real Hot Nerd Pod and on YouTube. And that's it. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.